very, very happy post-Christmas to everyone. Happy post-Hanukkah to everyone. Happy Boxing Day, and also happy first day of Kwanzaa for everyone who celebrates. It is Tuesday, December 26th. Welcome back to the Sports Note. Took our little kind of typical hiatus as we do the first couple of years here. During the holiday season in December. Mike and I are actually in the middle of our hiatus for the Wise Guys. We'll talk more about that on our individual channels. Mike could actually have a little bit of a surprise coming up with the big Rican show here after the first of the year. But we're smack in the middle of bowl season right now. We've actually had some bowls previously, but now we're kind of getting into the meat and potatoes of it. The NFL actually just wrapped up with the Monday triple header yesterday on Christmas. We actually saw 3 games that were really not that great on paper. We had an upset. We had one blowout. We had one game that was a little bit closer than it should have been. We had the NBA quintuple header with all 5 of those games going on. And then we had some minor bowls starting back on the 16th. And one of the games we're going to talk about right now was one that got a lot of notoriety, and it was not really what happened during the game. It was actually what happened after the game, and it was something that was actually clipped on fan video. And that was the 68 Ventures Bowl that took place on Friday night. And the game was actually held at Hancock Whitney Stadium, which is the home of South Alabama University. Now, the thing is South Alabama was playing in this game, hosting the Eastern Michigan Eagles. On paper, this was something that should have been a relatively close game. South Alabama and Eastern Michigan both came in at 6-6. They were both 4-4 in the West divisions of their conference. South Alabama coming out of the Sun Belt, Eastern Michigan coming out of the MAC. And it was the biggest rout of bowl season so far, with South Alabama winning this game 59-10. South Alabama led 17-0 at the end of the first quarter. Eastern Michigan scored, I want to say, on the second play of the second quarter to cut it to 17-3, and then South Alabama proceeds to run off 42 straight points. At that point, Eastern Michigan scores with like the second to last play or something, or within the final minute or something in the fourth quarter, to kind of at that point get into double digits. And it was also very surprising because the MVP of the game was freshman quarterback for South Alabama, Gio Lopez. Now, Lopez was 14 of 19 for 192 yards, threw 3 touchdowns. Again, not jumping off, he did not jump off the page with those types of numbers. Very accurate. The passing yards were very down. He did carry 7 times for 88 yards. He was the game's leading rusher, did score a touchdown. Their leading receiver had 127 yards and 2 of those touchdowns. South Alabama in this game accounted for 627 total yards and 29 first downs. Eastern Michigan only 150 yards, 10 first downs, turned the ball over 3 times. The time of possession was right down the middle. South Alabama held the ball for just shy of 31 minutes. Eastern Michigan held it for just over 29 minutes, literally within seconds of that. The game was an 82% capacity. There were 20,926 at the stadium. Eastern Michigan, ironically enough, was a 17.5 point favorite in this game and ended up losing by 49 points. The fireworks, though, really came after the game, and we're going to touch on that here in a moment. But Eastern Michigan, the only major non-conference game or major opponent they kind of faced all year was a 25-6 loss at Minnesota in week 2, where South Alabama went out in week 3, went into Oklahoma City and shocked the Cowboys 33-7. And that was a game that Oklahoma State did not score until the start of the fourth quarter, where the Jaguars were already up 23-0 at that point. And remember, Oklahoma State ended up going to the Big 12 championship game where they were run off the field by Texas, who's now going to be playing in the semifinals this weekend. The idea of the fracas, and everyone's seen it and everyone's heard about it now. What exactly occurred is that after the game and the teams are kind of retreating to their tunnel, South Alabama stays on the field with the band. They face the student section, as most schools usually do, and the school alma mater is played by the band, and the players in the student section end up singing the school song. As this is happening, the song's already in the process of being played. Eastern Michigan's senior defensive back, Corey Hernandez, proceeds to run from his tunnel clear across the field, runs over and just sucker punches one of the South Alabama defensive back, freshman Jamarian Burt, in the back of the head while Burt still had his helmet on. And then from there, other players kind of take note. And then several other skirmishes, pushing, shoving, some, grabbing of the face mask start happening. Team officials, coaching staff, stadium security has to run in to try and separate these before we got an all-out brawl on our hands. The stands are basically empty at this particular point. And here's the ironic thing about it. Burt had one solo tackle in the game as a freshman. Hernandez did not really do anything to get onto the official score sheet. So, and again, as both of them are defensive backs, they would not have encountered each other except if something was said as the teams were kind of collecting on the field, to share well wishes and everything for the holiday afterwards. So that's actually what's making this even more perplexing, as a little bit more is kind of coming out, but we're not going to see much more coming out for a little bit. Immediately after it happens, then the Eastern Michigan athletic director, school president, they immediately apologize to South Alabama for the fracas. They already start reaching out to MAC Commissioner John Steinbrecher to launch a full investigation as to what exactly caused Hernandez to kind of snap like this. I understand you get run off the field by 49 points. You're going to have a huge chip on your shoulder here, especially 3 days before Christmas. You're going to be flying from Alabama back to Michigan, and then possibly heading home to wherever you're going to be going there. So you're going to be hopping flights all over the place if you are even going home for Christmas at that point at all. But you also figure, your family's already down in Alabama, so you probably aren't going to travel with there. So I don't know exactly what set Hernandez off. We're going to get more of information in the coming days and weeks. But if anything, Hernandez committed, and I'm certainly not condoning what he did, but Hernandez essentially got away with football's version of the perfect crime. You can't really do this in the NFL. They can fine you, definitely suspend you if it's at the end of your career or something like that. Sure, the Players Association or whatnot, game checks or certain things like that, or part of your pension could be offset for a check or two. But Hernandez is a senior; he's got no eligibility left. And then for Burt being a freshman, if now let's say, devil's advocate, Burt was the one that kind of said something that set Hernandez over the edge here. Definitely Burt could face some action. But if it's something that this was all Hernandez, he again gets away with the perfect crime. He's got no eligibility. He goes on, he graduates, and the NCAA is not going to really be able to do anything, to him unless they fine him to the point where if he gets like a game check or something from wherever he decides to play next, whether that's in the NFL, I don't think that's going to be I honestly don't think that's going to be happening because he only registered 9 tackles on the season for the Jaguars. But if he goes and plays overseas, if he plays in an indoor league, if he goes up to Canada and plays anything of that nature, um, they could actually void his scholarship, whatever's left on it. So if he actually still needs to take a couple of classes, he could end up having to pay back that portion of the scholarship. I certainly don't think this close to the end of his collegiate, or I should say academic career, that his athletic career is going to cause him to get expelled or something of that nature. We could speculate until we're blue in the face. But again, more of this information comes out little by little by little. And we're back. Sorry about that little office call here. First day back after the holiday break. But again, it's something that with Hernandez doing what he did, it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out against him as the MAC starts to amp their investigation up, because Steinbrecher still now actually after the college football season has essentially ended here. I don't know how many more MAC teams are playing. I want to say there might be one, maybe two more, playing in bowl games through the rest of this week. And then they actually start shifting their focus over to the meat and potatoes of conference play for college basketball for men's and women's. And then in another month and a half here, they actually have to start thinking of like pitchers and catchers starting to report for college baseball season. They've got gymnastics season going on. So it's just an endless cycle, and this is not something that Steinbrecher really wanted to deal with, kind of going into the holiday. I'm not saying he's going to drop a hammer here, but it's going to be interesting to see what kind of in whether they punish Hernandez, or if it's something that they're going to. Whereas if he's kind of sort of off the hook at that point, and then Eastern Michigan gets fined or ends up giving back like part of that purse to, forfeit some of that purse to South Alabama, kind of like how with like a mixed martial arts or a boxing fight, if a fighter doesn't make weight, they forfeit some of their purse, over to the opponent, win or lose at that particular point. So let me know what you guys think. What did you guys think of the brawl? What do you think is going to happen? What game are you looking forward to the rest of this week? And I will be back with you guys here, hopefully a little later on this week. I will definitely try to catch you guys here before the new year. Mike and I are on hiatus until January the 13th with the Wise Guys. If you haven't seen our year-end show and the hilarity and chaos that ensued for that 2.5 hour mess, go back and watch it. We're going to be clipping some of our favorite moments from that show. We'll clip the Wisey Translator. We got a couple of off the rails segments that we could probably clip for that. So those will be coming out here a little later on this week. Everyone take care. And again, hope everyone's holiday was good, and Happy New Year if I don't see you guys before then.